Hello, 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 and happy Thursday. Welcome back to yet another live event where we unpack multifamily due diligence and underwriting one step at a time. For those who may be tuning in for the first time, my name is Vessi Kapulian, former commercial lender turned real estate investor. Today, I connect business owners and high achieving professionals, family offices to well vetted cash flowing investments in apartments to help create additional passive cash flow income streams and tax deferral benefits. And I also work with active and passive investors, helping them unpack multifamily underwriting so they can evaluate a deal from beginning to end with clarity and confidence. And so I took a brief break last week because it's been pretty hectic. I'm sure a lot of you are reading the headlines, and I wanted to share with you one of particular interest that I'm watching that may signify ongoing trends happening in our industry, meaning commercial real estate. I know a lot of you by this point of time are probably reading the news about the yet another revision in the unemployment rate and the high likelihood that the Fed will be reducing rates during the upcoming meeting and all that information. This is not necessarily net new news. If you've been following me for a while, I've been speaking about the leading economic indicators, which have been pointing to an economic slowdown for quite a while. So I will not be regurgitating those news, and I think you've probably had enough of those over the last few days. But there is one article that I came across recently, which I found interesting, and I'll share my thoughts with you. It was published, I'm looking at it here in the CRE Daily. And by the way, if you'd like the link, simply message me or DM me, and I will happily share that with you. But it was published in the CRE Daily last week, and it's real estate giants Apollo and BlackRock expand. Apollo and BlackRock grew real estate assets by 57 billion with acquisitions of Bridge Investment Group and Elm Tree funds. And so I found this news particularly interesting because to me it signifies a few things or a few trends or not so popular trends that I will be watching. One is the institutional appetite for commercial real estate. That hasn't really gone away per se. But what I find interesting is that those giants, right, like BlackRock and Apollo, are effectively gaining entry or further expanding their commercial real estate portfolio in perhaps more niche areas that they previously didn't have access to, or maybe not as deep of an access as they would like to have by virtue of performing these acquisitions. And again, that appetite also speaks to the long-term prospects of the industry. There's definitely been more increased appetite in the residential space, built to rent, as well as the multifamily traditional apartment space. But what I find it interesting is that usually when you see these trends at the institutional level, eventually then they trickle down to the retail level. And there are a few implications of things that may impact smaller players. I do see the probability of smaller players in a similar manner joining hands to where they have complementary skills or access to market or know-how they can leverage and help one another, whether that's an access to a new market or perhaps access to a niche area. Um, and I'm already actually seeing that come into play where many capital allocators or colleagues in the space are now joining hands with established operators as investor relations contacts, for example. And so there is a win-win for both parties in this case because the capital allocator was probably looking to for lack of a better word, consolidate the list of operators they partner with is effectively choosing one that they've perhaps had prior experience working with, one that they know, like, and trust. And so they can benefit from more consistency, ongoing deal flow, and really working with an operator that they're comfortable with. Now, the operator is also benefit because they're effectively getting access to the investors or the capital that that particular capital allocator brings, and so that helps provide additional access to capital, which definitely has not been easy to raise for a variety of reasons, which I've covered in prior live events as well as in some of my complementary content. And so they're able to get someone knowledgeable, someone who believes in their business, who likes partnering with them, knows how they work, and someone who is skilled at expanding the investor pool that they have access to. So that would be an example of a win-win situation. Or I definitely see a scenario where perhaps one syndication firm joins hands with another to not only gain access to additional capital, if maybe one is better at raising capital and the other one slightly better at operating, but also perhaps expand into additional markets, perhaps consolidate some of the operations and bring those in-house, whether that's a general contractor and maintenance type of work or property management work. So a lot of synergies are to be leveraged through some of those mergers, partnerships, and joint ventures, and not uncommon at all to see those happen during the time or this part of the market cycle. So I thought that was interesting, and I thought I would pop up and share my thoughts on the topic. And if you'd like to learn more, I help investors by also by doing deal reviews. I help them with the due diligence process, specifically when it comes to the numbers on apartment deals. So if that's something you would like to find out more about or connect further, feel free to send me a message. And if you'd like to stay abreast of future live events, I host topics on a variety of topics, master classes. I would say follow me on LinkedIn or YouTube, subscribe to the channel so you'll be notified of those events when I do host them. Normally, I pop up once a week around noon, 1 p.m. on Thursdays. And on Monday, I'm actually hosting my quarterly investor party. Have very special guests coming up who you don't want to miss. So if you'd like the link, let me know. I'll make sure to post it as well in the comments. And with that, I wish you a blessed day and I will see you at the next event. Ciao.